What did your friend do that accidentally turned you on? This one girl started tickling me. When I started tickling her back, she started to moan and said she was sensitive there. Awkward drive home. Oh, I know that feeling. Except that in my case, my friend and I were watching a movie down in his parents' basement back in high school. It was a little chilly and we were kinda playfully fighting over the throw blanket. It turned into a bit of a tickle fight, but I was winning because I am not ticklish except for a few extremely sensitive places, whereas he was ticklish everywhere. He told me it wasn't fair that he couldn't tickle me since my only ticklish spots are the sides of my breasts and back of knees. I dared him to try it, thinking he never would as he was a good Christian boy. He absolutely went for it and tickled me unmercifully for about a minute until it morphed into complete and total desire. He could absolutely tell the second it changed and we ended up making out. I absolutely would have fricked him then and there, but we never went any farther. We never had a repeat of the makeout session, but there was always a huge amount of exaltation between us after that and it really kind of ruined the friendship. As a guy I decided to fall asleep on a close friend's lap who then proceeded to stroke my hair and lightly pulling it. It was really hard to fall asleep cause I was more worried that I'd get a boner from that. From a woman's perspective, there is a very real chance your friend was trying to give you that boner you worried about. Edit SP. I had this friend that while having long phone call sessions, she used to talk to me in this seductive sounding Colombian accent and called me bizcocho, which is cake in Spanish. Never thought being called a dessert would be hot. Or maybe I'm just weird. That's a well-known flirty way for Spanish speakers to call someone. It's been disappearing because it's kinda old school and goofy lol. I was cracking jokes with a coworker and when she laughed at something I said she pushed at my chest and that oh stop it you kinda way and oh boy I damn near melted right then and there. A group of us went to a firework display and during the usual louder and bigger finale fireworks she jumped, grabbed my arm tight and didn't let go. Not sure what happened inside me but yeah, that did it. That's some anime s right there. Now we just need the part where she confessed but the fireworks were too loud and you couldn't hear it. He and I were watching a movie when he gave me a hug. While hugging me he gently ran his hands up and down my back. He didn't mean anything exo with it. I on the other hand have a very sensitive back and was severely turned on by it. The next day he made fun of me for being ticklish. I then admitted to the truth about that. Needless to say he did it again later. We've been dating for over a year now, see, getting close to 2. Really cute girl I had a crush on sat in my lap on the school bus headed home because there weren't enough seats. This same girl also told me I don't ever ask guys out because that's their job. Holy yes, I was so stupid. Edit. Thanks for the award. One of my first few ever. He still does this. He takes my shopping bags and puts his hand on my back as we cross streets. I'm short and I have a limp and he's so kind and caring about it. Edit. My phone has been blowing up today, wow. Quick frequently asked questions. I asked him out 3 times now, about 2 years apart each time. I was very politely rejected. We are great friends, and I'm happy with that. He's a joy to have in my life. The limp is from a very serious injury I had a few years back. I'm not actually a grandma. But I do love tea and crochet, so make of that what you will. I'm not abnormally short, I'm just regular, can't reach the top shelf and my feet don't touch the floor from chairs short. He's worried jackasses in giant pickups won't see me. He's not wrong, I've had a lot of near misses. Thanks for the kind words. I'm at work so more replies later, but I'm glad my wonderful friend's kindness made others smile too. He's cool like that. Plot twist. Diet potato is actually a sweet old granny. She dried my motorcycle seat with her sleeve while I was putting my helmet on. A colleague friend took care of my wounded knee during work. We were alone in the canteen and he was very sweet and caring. Guess I'm not used to that. Edit, spelling. Agayumi? I cut my hand at a previous job pretty good, and my co-worker came and he bandaged my hand up and I was like, damn boy. Just being cared for like that is such a turn on. A friend of mine I had a crush on sucked on my fingers, as a joke kinda. Then someone told her they do it in prom all the time and she never did it again, lol. Held my hand for a few seconds. Just happened a few days ago, she was driving and we held hands for a while. I'm still evaluating why that had such an impact on me. I have never been ladylike. So I was play fighting with a friend and he pinned me down and choked me a little. I still think about it sometimes. Yeah, I was never really the ladylike type either, I mean I'm a dude but still. Ruffled my hair. It wasn't that big a deal, but she was one of my close friends and that just. Whoa. Benjamin, I thought you were gay. He was driving and I was riding shotgun. He had to reverse to parallel park and turned his torso towards me, putting his arm around my seat in order to look back. He did that so confidently and effortlessly that it made me feel a little funny. You mean my good parking skills could actually be useful? I remember a girl classmate friend liking the smell of my deodorant and just grabbing onto my arm and then proceed to walk beside me. What kind of deodorant? I came back from freshman year college to visit high school and walked into the auditorium, where an incredibly cute girl I was friends with saw me, stopped what she was doing and literally ran up the aisle and jumped into my arms to hug me. Plot twist, married 26 years and have a son. Multiple things. First, in a party he danced with me and lifted me in the air. I'm not thin and not many people tried this with me. Then on a trip we made with friends, his cousin made a tent using sheets and a bunk bed. We went inside to read manga on his phone. He put his arms around me so we both could see the screen. Before anyone asks, he wasn't into me back then, but now we've been together for nearly 4 years. We were neighbors, she just kicked out her ex-BF, and we lost power due to an ice storm. The power was restored later, but her heat wasn't working right. She called it in, but the maintenance people were busy with calls to fix heat in other units too. We were hanging out at my place watching movies and basking in my heat, though it was still chilly. So we were sharing a blanket on the couch, snuggled up together, and drinking whiskey. She passed out on the couch, so I put on an extra blanket on her and went to my room. About 1 hour later, she walks into my room and just falls into bed next to me, gets under he covers and snuggles up to me and says I'm cold and passes out. I dunno, maybe I felt wanted and that she came to me for comfort. We didn't hook up or anything. The next morning she woke up, and she made me breakfast, and went back to her apartment to get her heat fixed. Edit. WTF happened between me posting this and now? Thanks I guess. Basking in my heat, it took me a while to realize you weren't just emanating heat like a human radiator. There are no accidents, Master Uguay. She was my female best friend at the time. We went out to watch A Star Is Born. She rested her head on my right shoulder. I was on cloud 9. I miss her. When he flipped between languages whilst talking on the phone with his mother and then asking me to pass him his wallet. I knew people could switch it on and off like that, but I've never seen the flow quite as effortlessly. Have had several female friends bite me in a playful manner. Turned me on every single time. And she probably knew. I told her a joke and she smiled so much, looked at the ground, then gave me a "you're so funny" look. I honestly wanted to date her since then. It's been 3 years and I'm still thinking of her. He jumped up, grabbed a fire escape ladder, pulled himself up and climbed all the way to the top. Just oh dear. That's how I learned I have a thing for people climbing, pulling themselves up. I offered him a sip of my drink and he made intense eye contact with me as he slowly put the straw in his mouth and took a nice long sip. I found it kinda weird to be turned on so much by him sucking on a straw since I don't have a D. We've been dating for over 2 years now. She was the popular girl in our class. She said I love you to me as a friend, I think anyway, or I'm just incredibly freaking dense. I didn't like her, but it still made my heart flutter. Nothing hotter than having your friends confirm that they actually do respect you as a person. SS good man. We were in a theater with a group of friends. And while watching the movie, she would put her head on my shoulder and talk to me about how PPL come to theaters to kiss lol. I got the butterflies in my stomach but never acted on it. It was later on when I realized how dumb I was for missing my chance. We used to do this thing where she'd kiss my cheek whenever we said bye. She kissed my neck on accident because I moved. I think someone distracted me at a party. That's one of my sensitive spots. And yeah. Edit, we've been dating happily now for 6 years. Girl was really affectionate and hugged everyone. When she got to hugging me I was really awkward, so I admitted that I had never hugged a girl before. She said, and I quote, "It's fine, I'll be your first time." All my friends were laughing at how that sounded, and high school me was rock hard. She was pulling me like aggressively but playfully. There came this weird comfort I had never felt even from my parents. Lol. It's weird. It isn't a known feeling though, so when it happens for the first time, it scares you. We were in some math class in high school and she was tutoring me mid-class. She was leaning over next to me as I was sat down and she had her hand on my back. She was almost whispering into my ear how to figure out this problem. Something about her voice was so soothing and arousing. It was very sensual and I still think about it often. Nothing ever happened with her. We grew apart after school. Something very similar happened at my job recently though, so it brought me back. When he whispers into my ear, even though sometimes it's just something silly and not I. My back is an erogenous zone for me. Whenever a friend of mine gets too huggy I need to quietly extract myself from them. LMAO. Was very cavalier about getting changed in front of me. Just taking her bra off under her top to get comfortable is a good one too. Whisper in my ear. Instant boner. Omelette du fromage. Sat beside each other. She laid her head down onto my lap. I went into panic mode and promptly jumped in my seat, making her sit back up. You idiot. When I was a freshman and taking a 6 AM class and going to practice an hour after school, she let me take a nap with her lap as a pillow and played with my hair. Was so relaxing. Also another girl got drunk and nibbled on my ear and I was like, OS. Conrad grabbed my arm as we were walking. I'm assuming you ate one of their asses. Not really a friend, but my first boyfriend when I was still finding out how attraction works. Pulled the collar of his shirt and leaned his head to the other side because he wanted to scratch his neck. IDK, I probably have some fetish for collarbones and necks. LMAO. We were going to a picnic with our classmates. This was in 10th grade. I'm doing second year of college now, and we were in this deluxe gigantic bus. We actually played hide and seek in the bus. Anyways. So while we were playing, I crossed my legs and sat down under one of the seats. And a female friend of mine came to the same spot and asked if she could hide with me. I agreed and she lied down and placed her head on my lap. But her head was exactly on my penis. It kinda turned me on, but I was trying really hard not to have a hard on and creep her out. Luckily, my efforts were not in vain. I still keep in touch with her and actually mentioned this to her a few months before COVID hit. She admitted that she knew she was on my penis, but didn't want to move because she thought that would make me feel awkward. We had a good chuckle and we're still good friends. Wait, like how big is the bus for your class to play hide and seek in? Is it like wide? Guy here. Senior year of high school. A guy dares me to give a massage to my girl best friend when she sits down. She sits down, I start giving her a shoulder massage, which I've been told I'm very good at, and she lets out a couple of soft moans, and completely relaxes. I had never really been attracted to her until then. Then I stopped and she slumped back, tilted her head back so I was looking at her upside down, and she said don't stop, so that was some feelings I felt since this got a fair amount of views. Nothing ended up coming out of it. She had a boyfriend at the time who was jealous of me for quite some time according to her. We haven't talked much in recent years, but we're having dinner and catching up either this weekend or next. Depends on if I have to work this weekend or not. I have feelings for her, but I'm not sure those feelings are strong enough worth ruining our 18+ year friendship. Was talking with a co-worker and her friend walked behind her and tugged her hair as a joke. Her reaction was a quick lip bite and eyes rolled up. It happened so fast, but I had to walk away for a moment. Probably wasn't accidental, but I was drinking with a friend of mine one night and she was being about her boyfriend at the time. I had always been interested in her, but I also respected it when she got into relationships, even though I really didn't like this guy she was with. She said she was gonna go to bed and that I could crash on the couch since I had been drinking. She started stretching in front of me and said that she always stretches before bed. Now I wouldn't have questioned this, but she was sticking her A right in my face and she was getting into some pretty suggestive poses on the floor. She went to bed and the next day thanked me for letting her vent. A lot of people told me she was trying to frick and I should have went for it, but she had been drinking and had a boyfriend, so there were 2 red flags for me to not even try. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Good on you for following your heart. A close friend from uni pulled my ponytail firmly enough to get my attention because I didn't hear him call me. Had to catch my breath after that. We're married now. Had a friend who got a tattoo on the back of her neck. Decided to kneel down in front of me so I could see it. Never been so happy for willpower in my life. Last thing I needed was her turning around to find a tent. Why would she need to kneel to show a tattoo on her neck? Didn't do S, but we were rock climbing and the rope was too tight, so he helped me untie it so he got close enough for me to catch his smell, and he actually smelled so good. Instant turn on. Might seem weird, but it is what it is. D. And nope, he wasn't sweating. BC, he belayed me. Ah, the old my figure 8 is too tight from taking a massive whip move. Oldest trick in the book. I was having a drink with an old friend a long time ago. At a point after a brief pause she just looked at me, smiled and said, "You're very handsome, you know." It got a little quiet, awkward, and we carried on drinking and chatting, and soon it was like nothing had happened. But from that moment on I never failed to notice the striking blue of her eyes, and my feelings became slightly complicated and conflicted. It didn't last, of course, just bizarre how a compliment can change your perception, especially for us men who receive so few. We barely speak anymore. We're both married and she has a son. Of course I love my wife with all I have and all I am. But there's always that memory. I've never forgotten it and imagine I never will. I'm terrified of being choked, having people touch my neck etc. after an incident where I was attacked and raped. I thought I would spend my whole life with that being a really serious never ever touch my neck kind of thing. Which it was, for several years. Until my best friend, who is this 6 feet 7 feet monstrosity of a human, playfully lent their hand on my neck. Yup, so it turns out I just needed it to be someone I trust, in a non-exul setting, to unlock the ability to be turned on via neck being touched. God damn it, brain. So close, but so far. She looked at me. WW. Wait, what? Damn, she likes you 100%. She asked me to touch her thigh. She was very proud of them after working out. Little did she know I really like thighs. We're engaged now. Party train narrator, she knew. My crush felt my hoodie because it was soft. IDK, it felt weird and turned me on. God, I'm so lonely. Dude, I felt this so hard, man. We're in the same boat. At the school dance, a friend who I had a crush on came over and sat on my lap, despite there being plenty of free chairs next to me, and just casually had a conversation. Edit. Geez, when I posted this I never expected it to get this much attention, let alone get awards, so thank you for them. This is my most upvoted thing on Reddit ever, which is crazy. Anyway, to all who wanted to know, she was not into me the same way I was into her, as I found out a while later when I got told we were just friends. So to whoever asked if we smashed, I regret to inform you that we did not. Also, I'm aware the thread said accidentally, and I'm pretty sure that she wasn't trying to turn me on, but it did, haha. She knew and was freaking with you, or trying to get you to make a move. I was making coffee in my AeroPress for us and pressing slowly on the top of it like you're supposed to, when she shouldered me over a little and leaned on my hand to push it down faster. It was cute as frick and I'll never forget it. Edit. OS. This is too many upvotes, she's gonna see it. Hi. Sorry. Party train, damn, our coffee has finally primed itself for horny jail. A friend of mine used to sit on my lap when we'd run out of chair hanging with other friends and she'd move her hips to find a comfy spot, but goddamn it was hard on me, to find a way that my little John wouldn't poke her in the butt. Which did happen a couple times, which would be followed by her giving me the smile and shifting just a little more and saying something coy. Another time was when we were hanging out while I had a really loose tooth. She was getting annoyed at me pushing at it with my tongue, so she pushed me to my bed, straddled me, and reached her hand in my mouth to tear my tooth out. From the sounds being made, my groaning, the bed shaking, my dad came up to make sure we were alright, then saw us sweaty, her on top of me, face right up to mine, and thought we were about to do it, lol. After she used that as a distraction enough to yank my tooth out, I had to go downstairs to stop up the bleeding and managed to explain to him what had happened, to which he looked mildly disappointed, and I think his headcanon to this day is that I had sex with her, or at least some light, over the clothes, action. Okay, but seriously, did nothing happen with her after this? She literally straddled you on a bed and nothing? Had this friend of mine. One day at home while we were drinking with some other friends, she started singing. At that moment I looked at her and didn't just see my friend, I saw a very attractive young woman. I sometimes still see that moment when I look at her and shake the thought away. About a year ago I had the same thing with my girlfriend before we got together. I have had a thing for her for quite a while when this happened, but in that one night, where she drove me home from a festival at like 4 in the morning, she started to sing randomly to a song I happened to like very much at the time, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. I must have stared because suddenly she stopped and asked if I stared because I liked it or because of something else. So then I told her that I really liked her singing, which she obviously denied because her singing was horrible. We said goodbye and I thought about what happened for the next few days. A week later I decided to ask her out and we are still together 1 year later. Edit. Quite a few people have asked which song it was that she sang along to. I unfortunately can't remember which song it was, but it was a song still popular at the time, similar to Lewis Capaldi's Someone You Loved But Not At Once, since it wasn't out at the time. Edit. Thanks to you Alpenglow I found out which song it was. It was Be Alright by Dean Lewis. People. Edit. Could actually have been Someone You Loved, since he apparently played it live before he released it in late 2019, as you with regard for human life pointed out to me, but I don't know. I like both songs very much. We were sleeping in the same bed after a night out at our friend's flat and she told me to spoon with her because she was cold. You know that was a hint, right? Choked me playfully. Shocked the hell out of me. Now Christian. Remember Jesus. Wholesome 13. We were sitting on her couch watching Thor Ragnarok. Finished our Chinese food, she got a pint of Ben & Jerry's out of her freezer and she sat sideways half on my lap and took turns taking a bite and feeding me a bite. It was oddly intimate, but she made it clear she was convinced if we started to date we'd end up married, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that. 6 months later we were dating. 6 months after that we were married, coming up on our 2-year anniversary. She looks over at you. This is all your fault. When she put her hands on the back of her neck while leaning on the table and her eyes never left yours while listening to you. Instant turn on. Edit, hand. Yes, I can picture this way too easily. I slept over my friend's house because it was late and I didn't feel like driving home. She walks out of the room to change into what she sleeps in, which was a sleeveless band shirt with holes in it. The armholes were stretched and showed side boob, no bra, and just underwear bottoms. I made a move and we're married now. She insists to this day that she had no intention of seducing me. It's just what she's comfortable sleeping in. Saw side boob and lived happily ever after. Beautiful story. Pet my head. I'm sensitive up there. Edit. Guys, I don't have a D, so no, it's not the hair down there, LMAO. Guys, I found my dog who stole my phone. The last guy I had a crush on, he was my boss. He was walking and folding his sleeves the same time and I was looking at him because it was such a simple thing. But damn, I couldn't work the entire day. I had to call a friend to calm down. Lol, great. Now the crush has resurrected. De-edit. Thank you all for your comments. I am really loving reading them all. Keep them coming. I haven't been able to stop smiling since I wrote this. Colon. Every guy on Reddit, write that down, write that down. Decide to randomly put their legs on your lap to sleep while in a car. I was the friend. She had hosted a party with our friends. We had been on the same beer pong team for a bit and I had been jokingly giving her a hard time about missing some shots. To which she responded by saying that she'll slap me, an inside joke, it won't even been hard. I stared at her, and she raised her hand to so, and while maintaining my gaze, I quickly grabbed her by the wrist and held on for a second before letting go. She quite literally said that turned me on and then asked if I heard what she said. I said yeah and continued playing. Edit. I should have added this sooner, but I had my reasons for not doing anything, let alone the fact that she was already hooking up with an acquaintance who was also there. In high school, a girl I hung out with changed clothes in front of me on the basis that, well, you've seen me in a bikini so whatever, and I was like, yup. This just seems so logical. I've never had issues changing in front of people and honestly, bikini is just like underwear, so I'd get that too. Edit. For the info, I am in fact a male. Moved into an apartment where my roommate was one of my best friends who happened to be a girl. Completely platonic relationship for 12 years at that point. 6 months later I'm stoned out of my mind, as per usual, when I get home from work late at night and she asked me to lay down in her bed with her because she had woken up from a nightmare. So I laid down, on top of the blanket, and she fell asleep. I had intended to get up and go into my own room and watch cartoons with the rest of my high, but I ended up getting comfy and fell asleep. The next morning she woke me up by lightly scratching my back, but little did she know that nails on my back are an instant turn on. Never had any feelings for each other. Never did anything even remotely physical. Nothing. Just boom, instant would. Jokingly told her to cut it out or it's gonna get awkward, and she didn't know what I meant at first until I rolled over and she saw the tent in my pants. We discussed the idea of us being together or even just casual sex between friends, and 1 year later I wifed her. No regrets. Not a single letter. Married my best friend because she accidentally made me horny. Writing their name on my hand arm. Extra points if they add a little heart. When I was a junior, I grew my hair out and had it cut to a 10 feet tail. I'm sitting in class one day and my classmate behind me starts gently running her fingers through it. I melted into my chair. My dad used to give me a buzz cut. 7th grade, year 8. I came to school with a buzz cut and all the girls in class just came to touch my hair. I got the best feeling ever. I was dreamy all day after that. Fingers through hair pushes one to horniness levels which shouldn't be possible. I found restraints on his bedposts from an encounter with an ex and made fun of him, then asked him how they work. Instead of telling me, he proceeded to put the ankle restraints on me and threw my legs over his neck and showed different ways he could frick me. I've known this dude since I was a kid and he's family to me, but I instantly wanted to drop my panties and say frick our childhood, let's ruin a friendship. So that's how I found my kink in college. She sat on my lap, sang Hey There Delilah, and every time she was with her friends and I rolled up they all stood there in silence and watched us talk. Then I got cancer, never returned to 6th form and get into uni 4 years later. The same university she just enrolled in to do her masters. Edit, not sure why this exploded so much, but thank you for all your kind words. Remember friends, life sucks, you can only play the cards you are dealt. Doesn't mean you can't bluff. That took a big twist in the middle randomly. We were both drunk at a friend's house party, and I playfully pulled her hair to get her attention. She gasped, and then gave a happy little moan. What made it hotter was the way she gripped the seat of her chair with both hands, and encouraged me to do it again, and so I ended up playing with her hair all night. I still think about her gorgeous bliss-filled face, though sadly we never took it any further. I was going to post the same thing, except I'm the woman in this scenario. A friend of mine playfully wrapped my ponytail around his fist and gave it a tug, and it woke something up inside me. I couldn't help but make this little sound and looked at him with the most obvious bedroom eyes. We were sitting at our crowded lunch table too, and the guy, who is the most shameless person ever, actually blushed for the first time I can remember. Then our friends proceeded to tease the S out of us. A girl I became friends with on a school trip in high school fell asleep on my shoulders on the ride back. I'm 28 and I'm still coasting on that memory. An old friend of mine did this when I had a huge crush on her in high school. We're both happily married separately and still friends, but I still think about that night. It was just nice. My high school crush was sitting on a table during class and pulled me close to her and wrapped her legs around my waist to not let me leave. She was in cross country, so her legs had some decent power on them. Right after, she grabbed my arm and gently bit my forearm. Little did I know, she awakened 2 new things in me. Yeah, I'm sure that was completely accidental, not dropping hints or anything. So many missed opportunities in this single post. When I worked in a restaurant, the head chef was the type who was very particular. His way was always right and he was bossy, but he was also super nice, funny, do it balanced out. He essentially just had a very dominant personality. I would call the garlic toast garlic bread because I didn't see much of a difference, and while we were rushing, that's the name that would come out of my mouth. It was kind of our thing to bicker back or forth. We had fun and laughed with it and it never had any actual tension. But one day I yell for some garlic bread. He's holding it in his tongs and is about to give it to me when he says call it garlic toast. I said okay I will. When he goes, no. Say it now. Call it garlic toast. I want to hear you say it. So I start giggling and say okay chef, to where he once again in a very dominant way says no. Say it. Once I cracked and laughed, then said it. He smiled and good girl y'all. The sub in me has never been happier. I've never been in a more exully charged environment than when I worked at a super busy restaurant. It was nuts for a 16-year-old high school kid. This was 5 years back in high school. A female friend and I were put in a group together for a science project. We met up after school at her place, because no one was home and she didn't want to drive over to my place. As I was sitting on my laptop and reading, she scratched my forearm with her nails to get my attention. Man. Her look in her eyes and the scratches. I still remember that. The look in her eyes that meant, "Don't sit on your laptop, we have chairs." Made me watch Teen Titans with them. Started watching the first episode as friends. We were dating by the time we finished the last one. The question should have been, when did you miss obvious signals that your friend is DTF, judging by all the replies? Half of me is happy that these people weren't trying to take advantage, but the other half is like, how did you misunderstand that edit? From the replies to this comment, I'm gathering that my perspective as a woman is more fine-tuned to picking up on when another woman is making a move. Good on you all for hesitating if you're not 100% sure. I was once speaking to this customer and I couldn't understand her because of her thick Russian accent. So my co-worker stepped in and started speaking fluent Russian, and I swear it was the hottest thing ever. I definitely have a thing for accents because that S was putting me in some type of mood. Fuck. You're definitely a sleeper agent, just saying. I always went by an abbreviation of my name. He was the only person to always use my full name. Dunno why, but always made me weak. Edit. My dad didn't call me by my full name. The daddy comments are creeping me out. And my name is Eloise, but people would call me L. Big group. 2 others share my first name, so all 3 of us were called by our last names. She would call me by my first name, and the other 2 by their last. I know that feel. Back when we were in school, a girl who had a crush on me pushed her A into my crotch region in a bit of a grinding motion while we were standing in a crowd of other students. She turned around and winked. I'm an A man, so I was shooting ropes to this for weeks. Please tell Emmy you made a move eventually. My female friend in school 10 years ago, who was in my clique, decided to adjust her bra in front of me. Cupped her boobs and adjusted them. I was like, oh my god. Don't look at her. I had a friend lick my face as a joke because she was one of those girls that thought they were quirky or different for acting like a weirdo or something. It was like freshman year of high school. It was definitely strange as hell, but Jesus Christ, did she awaken something in me. I wasn't even particularly attracted to her. I was just licked and I felt the arousal creeping in, and I'm standing there like, oh god, oh frick, please don't get a boner, frick frick frick, no 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 no. Not very subtle, but she spontaneously pulled her pants down to tan her legs while we were chilling outside. When she suggested doing it, I was like, oh sure, assuming she had shorts on underneath. Ha nope. Victoria's Secret panties. I laughed and said, dude, we're outside, but in truth, god, I was turned the hell on. She wasn't the brightest friend, but that's what made hanging out with her so fun. Mayo, I miss pre-COVID times. Makes sense. The only real difference between bikini bottoms and panties are being prepared and comfortable enough to be seen in them in public. Best mate's girlfriend and I got along really well. I got along great with her parents. I was sitting on the couch at her parents' house watching motorsport with her dad. She sat next to me, fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I was okay until I could hear that cute little breathing noise coming from her. My mate broke up with her a month or so later. I was far too dumb to pick up on the many signals from her. Not a friend per se, but a random stranger. I was checking out at a drugstore. I gave my phone number for the reward system and immediately we started chatting about where we were from. Turns out we grew up about 40 miles or so from each other and discussed what it's like being so far from home. When she handed me my change back, we held hands for a few seconds too long, and that is probably the closest thing to intimacy I've felt in a very long time. Edit. For those of you telling me I should go to her and get her number, she is in her mid to late 50s while I am in my 20s. Not entirely sure what I would do with her number. Was on the bus for a field trip in high school. I was a little late. The only open seat was next to my crush. I was in grad 12, she was in grad 11. It was a 6-hour round trip. And the person you sat with was your partner for the entire trip. She had a tank top and wasn't wearing a bra. It was a bit chilly on the bus. On our way back she was cold and didn't bring a sweater. I had a long sleeve on, so I handed her my sweater. She put it on and snuggled into me and fell asleep. So cute. When we got back to town I offered a ride home. We ended up making out in her driveway. A week later I got my sweater back asking for a refresher of my smell. The sweater smelled just like her. I asked her on a date that day. We dated for 2 years. People starved for physical affection. There was this one incident where me and this pretty girl went out for a long drive. We drank a bit and on the return she was tired and put her head on my lap while I was driving. Pretty sure she felt my D. That move is called a scouting mission. I was in 6th form and all of our friends, male and female, were sat in one of the small rooms. There wasn't enough seats so people were all sat on each other's laps. One of the girls was sat on my lap. This in of itself wasn't very arousing. She was a very quiet girl and just a friend, so I didn't think much of it. During one of the group conversations someone started singing, so, as you do, we all joined in, singing and doing a jig. I was bouncing the quiet girl on my knee while we all sang. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Can you stop bouncing me on your knee, you're making me really wet." Well, I didn't stop, but I also didn't stand up for a good 30 minutes. Edit. Holy yes, this blew up. Thanks people. Shameless plug, I stream on Twitch a few times a week. www. Twitch. TV Crackit. I was not expecting that the 6th form is the final stage in British secondary schools. This term is used in England, Northern Ireland, Wales and some other Commonwealth countries. The 6th form, or Key Stage 5, is the final 2 years of secondary education, U.S. high school. Students, typically between 16 and 18 years of age, prepare for their A-level, or equivalent, examinations. My friend was looking for an earring she dropped on the ground, and her hair got in the way so she tied it up. I don't even know why, but that turned me on so much. And it's how I discovered I might be Beaksel. Thanks again for reminding me how dull my life is. I was sitting shotgun, and he was messing with me in the chair behind me. Stuff like grabbing my shoulders, pinning me to the seat by shortening the seat belt, stroking my hair. I was beat red, but I didn't tell him to stop. We're dating now. He is the sweetest person I've ever dated. I feel really lucky. Mayo, that was such an obvious sign. Good thing you all took it further. One of my girlfriends walked out of my dormitory building in just some short shorts and a plaid shirt, and afterwards she just sat next to me and put her head on my shoulder. But she has a boyfriend. I just read every single comment on this thread. I'm so lonely. At a party once, she sat next to me and we just hugged and leant on each other for about 10 minutes. She also said that she wished she had done that earlier. I'd had feelings for her for about a year before that, so it felt really good. Edit. For everyone who said I should go for it, right now that's not really viable, especially with COVID going on. We're both at university and about 4 hours away from each other. I'm also someone who will very rarely start a conversation, as I'm afraid that the other person just doesn't want to talk to me no matter how good friends we are. Edit 2. I feel like I should also mention another detail from the story which I'd missed. She had been drinking. Not a lot, but a few drinks at least. She also did pretty much the same thing to a few other people at another party a few months later, which is why I didn't think anything of it. And to all the people saying they're balls excuses and that I need to man up, you're right. I'm a pussy when it comes to these things. I care too much about what people think of me. Sat on my lap and was shifting around. For reference, I'm a girl and it's making me wonder if I'm actually Beaksel, haha. Same thing happened to me. Women are hella nice, dude. Was colder out than I expected and I didn't have a jacket. Wrapped his arms around me from behind. Obligatory edit. First ever award. Thank you. Hugs for everyone. 3 years ago, we were once on a school trip, and we went to the woods, and I went with my other friends into the deep woods. We were all boys, and we got a little lost. She went out alone to look for me, and when she found me she just hugged me and whispered in my ear, "Dammit, don't do this again. What the hell would I have told your parents?" And my dumb freaking A just laughed and shrugged and pretended like my heart didn't explode that day. Well, anyways, 3 years later I confessed, and I'm sleeping right beside her now, and she has no idea I'm writing this. I was off from college for about a week. I came back and a friend of mine who I hung out with every day ran up and hugged me, but as she hugged me she jumped and wrapped her legs around me, and we were just looking at each other. Should have just went for it, but alas, I only realized after the fact months later. If I could go back in time I'd punch myself in the balls. You could always punch yourself in the balls now. Sort of like a warning to your future self about your past self. I can't remember the scenario that led up to it. I think there was something on my back she was helping me get, but she brushed the back of my neck, and that was the day I learned that I have a weak spot. I was on a band trip in grade 10/11, and one of the female bassoon players I was friends with gave me a little hand massage. It was damn nice and got me sprung, lol. Edit because of grammar. A few years ago me and a friend were goofing around, making flower crowns on a grassy knoll. She decides to roll down said knoll, and as she does her shirt rides up and I can see the sun reflecting off that little line of hair that goes down from the belly button. I swear time stopped and all of my blood vessels woke up at once. The sun was shining brighter, the flowers smelled sweeter. It was as if I briefly stepped into a more perfect pocket dimension. It was then I knew I definitely was not straight. Wait, girls actually like that on other girls? Edit, I'm girl who wants to ever feel desirable for once. Drive his car. I've never been into cars, or particularly into car guys, but I looked over at him since we were talking and we were going pretty fast, and I dunno. My body wasn't ready to look at my friend driving his fast car, I guess. She flicked her hair and bent down with a loose blouse showing me every single bit of her assets. Instant erection. Played prawn in their laptop. We were 6 guys watching a gangbang. It was really weird. Are you seriously watching prawn by yourself? Now I'm hanging out with the boy loud male cheering. He exists. Straight to the point. Friend in college with double D's pulled me in for a hug while I was sitting on the floor working on a project. My arms went around her waist, and she pushed my face right into her chest. I couldn't concentrate on my work for a little while after that, lol. Edit. I love that my first comment to ever reach 1k upvotes is about a girl shoving my face into her tits. Go to horny jail, Reddit. Edit. Make that 2k lomfeo. Another friend likes to put her legs on mine when we sit down, and sometimes she accidentally touches my pee-pee with her knee and she says oops. I am a girl and I have a boy best friend. After 4 years of friendship he requested we should hug. The first time we hugged it kind of turned me on. I later realized we were also spooning when a small girl was a big spoon. A guy leaned over me really close to get his beer from the shelf I was leaning on. We got together the year after and have been together for 7 years. Whenever I bring it up he always insists he didn't mean for it to be Zai, the man just wanted his beer. Had a really good friend who was a girl throughout HS. Never thought she was particularly attractive, but as part of a joke, she did this satirical lip bite and wink, and well, let's just say I still remember it vividly. We were hanging out with a bunch of people and moving from one location to the next. She asked to ride with me in my car since I was solo. When she got in my car she told me to wait and leave the parking lot last. Then she said let's ditch everyone and just go somewhere else. Just you and I. Didn't try to take advantage of my drunken A when I was clearly signaling for a kiss. Not getting a kiss back made me appreciate that friend a lot indeed. I remember in college there was a girl who I was almost sure liked me. She was pretty cute and we had great conversations, so if I had the courage to, I definitely would have asked her out. One night we were hanging out as our usual crew, me, her, and my male roommate, and she invites her brother and a couple of his friends over to my and my roommate's dorm. We start getting drunk and she gets pretty far gone. I tell her that she should go to bed and her response was only if you come with me. All the other guys were like oh, except her brother who just stared off into space. I showed her to my bed, put a trash can by it in case she needed to puke, and told her I'd be back in a few. I locked my bedroom door from the outside. I didn't know her brother's friends and we had recently gotten a notice of a rape in our dorm, so that was fresh in my mind, and after they left, I crashed on the couch in our dorm living room. I guess she wasn't as drunk as she let on because it was just awkward after that. She would barely look me in the eye. We hung out a couple more times but she only would have a couple beers then leave. I'm pretty sure she took my concern as a lack of interest. But at the time, I wasn't confident enough to speak up. Edit. It seems like people are hung up on the door locking. Long story short, the door's key locked unlocked from the outside and hand. I don't know if that's the right word, but you didn't need a key to get out. Locked unlocked from the inside. Long story long, it was a 4-bedroom unit with a shared living room and kitchen area. Our keys unlocked the front door and our bedroom doors. I locked my door every time I left, even when I got to know the people I lived with. One year we had some people over and I didn't lock my door and someone stole my phone. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment.